powered by Riverside.
Here we are, officially have our first guest, official guest. We've had a couple of unofficials, Mikey Gutierrez, right? We've been live a couple times. But here we have, you want to introduce the man, the myth, the legend?
This is D. Craig Lyon, class of what?
88.
Class of 88. Central's class of 88.
Yeah. Man, it's an honor to be here to be your first guest.
I thought you were younger.
I wish I was younger.
91 or something.
Yeah,
That's right, baby.
Class of 88.
Let's go with 91.
Yeah.
Because I'm class of 2001, but I don't want to make people
Yeah,
feel that
like
old.
I said, I'm so old. I taught Nick. You know, at least was at Southwest when he was a student there.
Coach me.
Coached more than anything baseball-wise.
So we're gonna get into one of the topics we've been talking about for a while is rivalries.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is a big rivalry week for Central. When you think of rivalry, what comes to mind?
Wow, you know, I mean, it's crazy. I've been, you know, you think about things like rivalries, and for me, who's a guy that loves athletics and sports and so on, rivalries what make. I mean, all my memories, a lot of my memories throughout the years are centered around rivalries, and so it's pretty cool to have that. But it's funny because, you know, for some people like that don't really like a lot of sports, there's one or two rivalries that are ingrained in them, and they've been a part of it. It's kind of like, you know, my wife, not really. She watches sports, but she doesn't know as much about it. But you talk about a bell game, she knows about it, right?
Yeah.
So there's those rivalries and things like that. And so for me,
there's a variety of rivalries, not just sports.
Oh,
Talk
yeah.
about pop culture. I mean, we brought this up before. Cardi B, Nicki Minaj. That's a rivalry. There's rivalry in like music and politics and all. But our focus today will be on the athletic side. And for those who don't know this about Craig, he's kind of a big deal when it comes to athletics, you know, in the OTL world, right? So Nick could tell us more about that. But you know, rivalries. And so Central High School, Brawley High School, for someone like me who's not really from the Imperial Valley, I grew up in Yuma. There was a separate rivalry growing up there. Yuma Kofa, always been like historically one of the biggest rivalries in Yuma County. In Imperial Valley though, I noticed that it's sort of a whole nother level, right? And Nick was part of it growing up. He's got ties to Brawley as well. I don't know.
Yeah, so I have on my mom's side, I have 8 uncles and aunts. On my dad's side, I have 14 uncles and aunts. And I was known as the one that defected to El Central.
Oh, yeah.
So even like, you know, I had a bunch of uncles all the way from like the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s. And I remember in the 1980s going to these bell games, sitting on, I would have to sit on the Brawley side because my parents liked that records. But I remember cheering for Central because I lived in El Central, right? So even going through Pop Warner, we knew that, hey, that Brawley game, we pointed at that one. It's always like the last game of the season, right? And I remember finally we were freshmen, and that was it. So my freshman year was the last year that there was no Southwest. And so now, I teach at Southwest, and I play sports at Southwest. But for 1 year, we didn't know about Southwest. And when I was a freshman, it was like, man, it was something else. Even to the freshman game, I don't know if I ever tell you the story, but I was a captain, so we all walked out there, and the ref started giving a speech about what an honor it was to be the ref in a freshman game. And I was like, I remember being there, like all pumped up, getting ready, all super hyper focused. Like, we're playing Brawley, it's about to happen, right? And he starts giving a speech, and boom, it kind of hit me, just the reality of it. Like, that's how big it is.
Why would you say rivalries are such a big deal, like for people?
well, I mean, and for some people, and I mean, obviously, I've had a lot of background in a lot of the schools and so on, so it's a little bit different for me. But as Nick will say, I mean, it's about, especially a Brawley Central rivalry, it goes back to your aunts, uncles, grandparents, and people take sides. I mean, that's the part about a rivalry that really makes it something. I mean, obviously, and going back to different rivalries, like when I was growing up as a kid, there was a lot of that Lakers Celtics.
Yeah.
And I mean, to me, I was a kid at those years in the 80s, mid 80s, and I remember just the people that were Celtics fans and Laker fans, and you had I don't want to say hatred, but you had a strong dislike for them. And it was like that was the things that made my days. It was kind of like I mentioned one time, maybe you guys, about like my brother and my mom had to take us to Kmart back in the day, old Kmart over there, Blue Light Special. And she's just like, well, sorry, we got to go in. And we're like, but the Lakers are playing Boston. I still remember my brother and I going and sitting in front of the TV section and watching the game. And we're sitting there, and we're young. I mean, it's not like but it was tough. I mean, that's why my grandparents and my uncles pretty much set those things. And so those rivalries that you've seen, that's what I'm talking about. And this is that. Brawley Central,
and
people are.
If there's a word, you say kind of borderline hatred, but I would say it's passion.
Oh, yeah.
Like in a rivalry, you see the passion come out in people, in the fan base. And yeah, it's kind of borderline hatred, but there's definitely a lot of passion that goes in. And people kind of, not to open up sort of wound anything, we talk about, the Dodgers, right? And the Dodger rivalry, or not so much rivalry.
You're the only one
Padres,
score wounds. Yeah.
right? It's like all the Dodger fans are like, that's what you call passion. And you talk about Yankee fans and Red Sox, or like in any other sport, it's just I guess one of the beautiful things about a rivalry is that it brings out the passion from people, and sometimes it gets out of hand.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie,
Well,
but
yeah, and it really becomes that passion is important because, like I said, a Bell game, or those Lakers Celtics, or like you say, all that makes it fun.
Yeah.
It gets you involved in that, and you take ownership of it. I mean, I never played for the Lakers. I never could play for the Lakers, but I felt like I was a part of the Lakers, because I watched every second of those games, and it gave you a reason to be there because you wanted to see them beat Larry Bird and Dennis Johnson.
I mean, we had passion in Kurt Rambis.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how into it. That's how into we were. I mean, exactly. You were Kurt Rambis.
yeah. But if there was an OTLT that was called the Lakers, great for you.
Yeah.
So
It is. But those are the things, like you say. I like that term about passion because it is. It is about passion, and that's the thing that you see here. And people, I mean, like Nick says, from his side of the family, and all of my aunts, uncles, grandparents, and all, they all went to Central. So it's that, I mean, they're going to continue to come and support
tradition,
that.
right? And that's where but also the tradition side of the rivalries is important as well. And so we talk about the Bell game, and for someone like me who's not from the area, what is the Bell game? And you have an interesting perspective because not only as a student, as a teacher at Central, and eventually, head principal here at Central, your perspective is a little bit more unique than most of us because you've seen it from different levels, right?
Yeah.
So why is this game so special? Tell us about the history of,
Well, first and foremost, this year, the Bell game is going to kind of mark the 100-year that these two teams have actually played each other. So back in 1922 was the first time Brawley played Central. Central beat them 37-0. At least that's what the yearbook says. So I'm hoping that was the case. But then you see that rivalry started then, and it was just kind of built it. And then in 1944. They established this victory bell, and there's been a lot of stories about it, but from what I heard was that they got it off the ship, they brought it down, and became, all right, we're going to start playing for this victory bell, because Central and Brawley really at that time were the two teams that really, I think they built that rivalry, because before Central had played Collect School a lot of times in Holtville, and some of those in Imperial kind of worked into it, but that Central Brawley became that big rivalry. So in 1944, they started. So this is going to be the 79th annual Bell game
of the Bell.
Of the actual Bell, yeah. Consecutive of the Bell.
But 100 years.
But 100 years.
Of competition.
100 years
so this
of
is the centennial game.
That's right.
Wow.
And so you really, that's the thing that's why it's so special. Because over the years, the games against Imperial or Holtville or something kind of split. People went different. But Brawley Central every year. And in many times, I know that you're talking about the 100-year, but I think in reality, this game, they've probably played each other over 150 times. Because for a lot of these years where it's at from 1944 on and up until probably when Central and Southwest split, they were playing each other twice a year.
When I was
They
in high
didn't play
school,
just
we played
once.
the
We
first game of
always
the
played.
season and the last game of the season. And we were jacked for both of them.
Yeah, I mean, and as you mentioned, I mean, I have a different perspective in the fact that my grandfather played in a bell game, and my dad and my uncles and and some cousins and so on, and that's the special part about it, is that there's so much tradition in this game and history in this game, and to know that the Lyon family was part of a lot of it going back.
That's a beautiful thing too.
Yeah.
Like, just generation to generation of this game. Competition. The spirit of competition continues on, and you pass it on to your heirs.
And beyond that,
Not errors,
even
errors.
after we graduated, we can talk about play being the star or whatever we won, but even after that, someone can't give it up. So there's this thing that I remember it used to occur. I don't know how often it occurs anymore. It's like turkey bowls, so everything's Thanksgiving. Few heads get together for volley, few heads get together in the Central. And I remember I grew up showing up and watching my uncle playing this thing. I remember I was 16 or 17. It was the first time I got to do it like a couple times. And even that, like, you're still facing the rival town, but there's still something on the line. Even though there's nothing on the line, it's a stupid standardized football game. Remember, it's ain't stupid at all. It's something's going on.
Well, and really the bell game is kind of the start of everything, and really a season. I mean, the bell game, whoever wins that bell game at the beginning of the year, it trickles down to basketball and baseball and soccer and so on. So it really does. It builds. We've talked about it all. I mean, a few times over the year. This year, when I was on the radio, is that I talked about that. Is that this sets the tone for a lot of things, and there's a lot of great sports. Get it. And there's a lot of good rivalries in between, but a bell game between Central and Brawley is pretty unmatched. No other towns can really say they've had what we have, and even in the state, I don't know if you've had somebody that's played over 100 times.
So what does that do for like student morale? Like winning the bell game. I guess what does the campus feel like or look like after winning the bell game? As a student, as a teacher,
Well,
as an
yeah,
administrator.
and that's what I was going to say. My first experience was I was a freshman here at Central back in '84, and we had lost the bell probably about 7 years in a row. And then you come back, and that year we ended up beating Brawley 17-16 on a field goal at the end of the game with time expiring. And I'm just telling you, as a young freshman, Spartan, I mean, the atmosphere was just unbelievable. And then you come back, and part of the great part about it, is that they have to bring the victory bell back and give it back to the team that wins. And so on Monday, you have this big assembly. You're in the gym, at least at that time when I was a freshman, it was in the gym, and we're just, the whole student body's going crazy, and then they're bringing that bell in, and the opposing team, athletes bring it in. And it's just, that adds something different, because, I mean, you get some things, you win this, all right, great, you celebrate out there, but this, no, the whole school celebrates. It's not just about the football team winning a game on Friday night and them being happy or so on. It's the whole school getting to experience it, because then, like everything, you're like, well, we won the bell, and nothing else matters for this year. We're top dog until next year. And I know on the other side of it is that you lose, and that feeling of having to take that bell to Brawley and walk it into them, you get to see that. And Brawley did it a couple of years ago when we won it back. We did it out on the football field, and that was awesome. But Brawley strategically did it. It was great. They brought in all their juniors.
Looking at your, you have some stats for us here. During your tenure here at Brawley as a student, you guys won it every year.
Yes.
So you've only known victory as a student. So, and I was talking to Minnie Lopez about this the other day.
Class of 86?
86.
Yeah, he was 86.
Class of 86. He said, you win that bell game, you walk off campus winner for life. You beat Brawley for the rest of your life, and it was serious. Like for the rest of your life, you could say, "We won the belt." And I was like, "Dang,
No,
that's how like."
I remember walking on campus as a freshman, and one of the custodians was like this star running back. But as a kid, I used to show up in the stands and watch him play. Like, hey, dude, isn't that so and so? And like it's still a big thing. Like it don't matter if you're a custodian or whatever. Like it's still that's that 4 digit like that. Like it's a big deal, man. And even to this day, I ended up finishing out school over at Southwest, and now I teach at Southwest. But still, I hear that band, and to this day, I'll still get the freaking chills. It's a thing, man.
It's just a different experience, like you say, and I laugh about it, but it is true. I said as a student I didn't lose the belt, and because we won it back our freshman year when I came in, and we kept it for about 6-7 years there, and that you remember that, and it goes the same way, like you said it. Even if you win it your senior year, and maybe you lost it all the other 3 years, but when you win it, you're going, man, I won the belt. As a senior, I walked up the field as a winner. And it is. I've said this. This is the other side, and it's hard for people to understand, but Brawley Central understands this. Is that we all are striving to win a CIF championship. You want to win a CIF championship. But if you lose the bell game and win a CIF championship, you're going to be disappointed, right? Because you want to win that bell game first and then win a CIF championship. But if you lose the bell, because locally, that's what's important. Yeah, when you win a CIF championship, a lot of people in the Valley are going to be supportive of you. They're going to be congratulations, do you think? When you lose the bell, you're still going to be going, yeah, but you lost the bell game to Brawley. Yeah, you won the CIF championship, but you lost the bell game to Brawley. That is going to be in your mind.
So would you equate the bell game to like the Padres beating the Dodgers in the playoffs recently? Like they beat them. Like we win after this, that's cool. If we don't care. We won the bell game.
It is. Hey, I'm going to be honest, and it goes the same way. Last year, obviously, I'm a big Rams fan.
Yeah.
Last year, the most important game, granted, we loved winning the Super Bowl, but beating the Niners in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl was special. That's more because I've been on that other side of the Niners beating the Rams and not getting there, and I'm crushed. So,
and for me, it's the Dodgers Giants.
Yes,
like beating the Giants, who had a fluke of a season, 100-game season or whatever, and then we beat them in the playoffs. Oh, that was everything. Yeah. You want to win the World Series, obviously, but after it's like fall apart. But for certain teams, it's like Rams, Niners.
Yeah.
And then there's the opposite factor. Like I know it's happened a number of times in bell games. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that. There's Michigan Ohio State special on HBO. They feature that very well, and they always compete for the national championship, one or the other.
That's huge.
And that's kind of the thing. Like for most years, IBL title goes to Central or Brawley, right? So maybe even if one of the schools has a down year, the other schools have an up year. It gives the other school no bigger pleasure than to beat them. And it's happened before. One is the juggernaut, heavily favored over the other, and the other school wins something out of it.
22 games ahead in the West,
It
right?
happens, yeah.
And it is, but it's those streaks, and this is the same thing. That's why a bell game, like Nick says, is so important, because it's not really what you did during your regular season. It's that night. It's that night that makes.
That's a cool thing, like because in talking to several people who played in it, just kind of hearing them talk about it, like many telling me about the '85 team, this guy, he played here, he played there. And it's just like he knows the history, he knows like what happened. But one of the things that he said was also special about it is that many of these former players end up coming out and helping out with the program. So you'll see a lot of these former players out in the field as coaches, as assistants, teachers, what have you. And it's like that's the special part because they still want to contribute to the program that they were part of. Because in a way, you can kind of think of it as a brotherhood. As a fraternity, right?
Yeah.
Because you were part of something special growing up. Eventually, when you can, you want to get back to that and support the later generation, the later kids, to feel that, be a part of it.
And the other side of it too is that I know when you're in high school and you're going against that the Wildcats, you obviously don't build those relationships. But for me now, I mean, 35 years later or whatever it is, I have a lot of friendships with guys that played for Brawley when we played against them, and the stories that we have. And that's the best part. And that's why I think that this game is even more special, because everybody has a little memory of a bell game, I mean, or something. And that part is the best part about it, because all my relationships with the people from Brawley are important to me now, and it's great that we have something in common. Even if it was, hey, we beat you on that, and they come back and go, well, we'll beat you in baseball. It's like, yeah, but we beat you in the bell game,
that's
right?
the fun part. You guys have that back and forth banter of like...
Even we were sitting in your classroom, we were talking about it.
You called your uncle?
Yeah, mid-conversation, I called my uncle who graduated the same year as Minnie from Brawley.
Okay.
Johnny Centennial, right?
Oh, yeah.
And instantly he's like, oh, yeah.
Dude, right away, Johnny's gone. We started talking about memories from the game, because I grew up with this. My uncle sit there when I was a kid, and he showed me like films of these games. And he showed me, oh yeah, you see this, and that's back when Cal Jones coached against Raleigh.
Yeah.
That was Minnie's coach, Cal Jones, right? You talk about a legend in this community, right? I mean, this is called Cal Jones Field, right? And I remember when I was a freshman coming up, and he was my freshman year. He was supposed to be the varsity coach, and that's when the things happened. He had an accident, but I can't tell you how long that I was like, I'm going to take him out. It was like that big deal, but I remember. They were gone talking, me and him, and I called my Uncle Johnny, put him on speakerphone. Boom, right? They're gone, telling stories back and forth.
I'm just listening, I'm like, man, you went. Like, immediately just flipped the switch. Oh,
Names
yeah, boom, boom, boom. Talked about this, talked about that. And I'm like, wow. So I could tell, like, this game means a lot to so many people for so many different reasons. And again, I'm not from here, but I could already sense it, and I see it, and I can tell that this is something special.
Even the alumni doesn't coach the staff, you'll find a lot of those alumni on the field. I don't know how they monitor that now, but I know it's always been a thing with different cousins or uncles. I think that's right. They for 860 or 840 or something. Yeah, it's always been.
And you brought up Cal Jones. I mean, I think that's one of those parts for me, because Cal Jones was here in the late 60s. And so my dad and my uncle Steve played for Cal Jones in 69, and then my uncle Steve in 70 and 71. My dad graduated in 69. And my uncle actually went with him when he left here to go to college. But my dad was on the school board, and back when we were just, my brother and I were getting to Central, and they helped bring Coach Jones back. So the fact that my dad got to play for Coach Jones and uncles, and then I got to play for Coach Jones, that's something, and as you say, he's a legend. The field's named after him, and those are the things you remember. And I know Brawley has some great coaches along the way that had impacts on their programs, but it's just fun. That's the history things, because people are going to talk about it. Oh, I remember this and that, all those aspects of it.
Nick had something interesting. As a player, you said something about like your only goal in life when you were.
That's right. Yeah, so I could never think being in high school. I was a small money kid, but been raised a bunch of uncles that are actually taking the bell game, and I grew up idolizing these guys. But I knew I was going to end up coming over here and having to go to Central. And even through popcorn and everything, I started getting pretty good 8th grade or whatever, coming to freshman year, and I could do a little bit, whatever. And I remember my whole goal in life at the time was to be a starting figure. It sounds stupid, it sounds petty, but that was me as a kid. I wanted to be in starting freaking bell game. That's how
special.
Gets right there. Yeah. In that one game, it'd be nice if I had a nice game. This person, that Raleigh.
Oh, those are and it's true, because I mean, it's funny that you say, because that's watching my uncles and looking at all the pictures and seeing everything when they were here at Central. That's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be a Spartan, and I wanted to be able to contribute. And so you get a game where if you get an interception or you get a fumble or you catch a big pass. It's even more special when it's against in a bell game or a big game like that makes a difference.
So what would you say? So this is Bell Week, that you call it Bell Game or Bell Week. Mm-hmm. What are some things to expect or see around campus?
Everything
during Bell Week.
Well, yeah, it is.
Everything
I mean, it's everything changes in the sense. I mean, it's a Spirit Week too, so everybody's going to have a Spirit Week, but you're going to include assemblies at the end of the week. But the whole week is centered around focusing on going down to play
you feel it all
bell
game.
game.
Practice,
posters around the city. You'll have we're going to have a community pep rally on Thursday night, here on campus. You'll have the student assembly on Friday before that. You're going to caravan. I mean, this was the thing that I didn't, because back in the 80s, we didn't really do a lot of those caravanning. Now, it's like you all get together and we're, I think it's about 5:15 or something. We line up and we drive a caravan. So the bus, the band bus, the football bus, the cheerleading bus, the drill team, they're all going to lead, and then everybody's behind. And you'll have
That's awesome.
100 people in cars right behind, and we leave El Centro right down by the pool, and then we head all the way to Brawley with the police escort and so on. Those are things that students don't get to experience sometimes. But that's the magnitude of it. So it affects all of them. Student sections are going to be there. I know Brawley's doing a huge thing this year, which because of the 100th year, which is awesome. They have a concert before the game.
Oh, wow.
So they're doing concerts. So they're opening up the doors at like 4:30 and having concerts before on the field. And then the game will get going, or at least teams will start showing up about 5:45 and go from there.
So that's what I'm telling you. That says you're new to the community, and it's one thing like things you have to do. I always say, you have to go to Mexicali. You have to. Hey, we're going to go to Verde Pier. You have to go to Belgium. There's nothing like it. It's standing room only. It's just absolutely insane. You got to do it once. Like fuck this thing.
And Brawley's going to do their things too. That's what it is. A community event where they let the students out at, because my daughter teacher, it's like at 2:10, everybody gets out of school and goes down to the little community park to have a little pep rally before they come.
Yeah, and those are the special things as a student that like you remember. That's a beautiful thing about sports in general is it brings the community together. So luckily we know somebody who can probably get us to this game, right?
Yeah.
But for somebody who still hasn't done their tickets, where can they get their tickets?
Well, and right now tickets are on sale on they have a GoFan app. So it's GoFan. You just go in there, type in GoFan.com, and you can go into what it'll ask you is what school, and so you just type in Brawley High School, and then it will show the game. And so you can purchase your tickets that way. The other is that our students and staff and community members can come to the school. We're selling tickets here on campus. So there's a lot of ways. I know Brawley's doing the same, selling their tickets, but there's still tickets. And from what I'm hearing is that Brawley's going to try to sell out that place like we normally, and they're bringing in extra bleachers and
they're
so
not
on.
going to try to block tickets from being purchased if you're from a certain area.
Well,
we only
the San Diego Padres. I'm sorry, man. I'm bitter right now. I'm still bitter, but
no. Brawley's good to us too.
Okay.
They take care of us. They don't block the tickets like those Padre fans or Padre organization blocking those
whatever works, man.
Dodger fans from taking over Petco.
Because that's what we do. That's what we do. So cool. Well, if you haven't got your tickets yet, this is Bell Week.
It'll be in the show description. It's in the show
We'll put it
description.
in the description. Make sure you get your tickets. Go check it out. I might have to make my way out there. If not this year, maybe next year. You guys will see next year.
Yes.
So it alternates. Check it out. I guess we'll transition to the next portion of and I want to put you on record.
This is really important.
So I want to put this on record because people want to know. And we talk about the things that matter here.
Gotta know.
So, is a hot dog a sandwich? Gotta know.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yeah.
Well, I've thought about this because I've heard this asked many, many times, you have
People want to know.
You have the back and forth, and it's like, hey, there's meat between bread, so yeah, that's a sandwich, right? So I'm going to say it's a sandwich. It's a different type of sandwich, but I'm going to say it's a sandwich.
All right, you heard it. Craig Lyon says a hot dog is a sandwich.
You might feel he's a sinner, but that's how he feels.
Hey, it's controversial, but that's what people like, so that's what we'll go with. Lastly, we always finish with the best thing we've seen all week. And so, the best thing we've seen all week, I guess I'll go first. And it pains me to say this, the Dodgers lost to the Padres, so if there's a silver lining that kind of goes with it, I would have to say the smile, the sort of joy that it brought to this guy's face, because if there's anybody who I would say is a true Padres fan, is this guy, and he's been through a lot of suffering for a while. I know what it feels like, the anxiety, and sort of the pain to kind of go through a playoff experience.
I haven't felt this since 1998.
Well, I've been feeling this for the past 10 years. The Dodgers have been winning the past 10 years. But people don't forget, before that, the Dodgers weren't making the playoffs much. So once we started getting through there, I know what it's like to feel. I get into it. I'm not very pleasant to be around and watch a baseball game in the playoffs with the Dodgers. So to kind of see this, how happy this guy, yeah, he talks a lot of smack or whatever, but at least I could see that, you know what, at least he's got a little bit happier. Like, you know what, we'll give him to this one. So we're regular season champs, so I don't know. I'll take that. I'll take it. So I don't know. What's been the best thing you've seen all week, Craig?
Well, you know, I mean, it's a little bit different for me because I'm my daughter had you know, her baby about a month ago, but so for me it was
Lion.
Yeah,
About
there you
the
go, loving it. I think for me, and it is. Here's my, you know, the thing I always say is that the biggest thing that I need to do is make sure that my grandson is going to be raised right. So having him over the house, watching the Padres beat the Dodgers, and having him in my arms when that happens,
All right.
it's a good thing.
Now, there's an important note to that both of
Yes.
the kids' parents, they teach at
Brawley.
Brawley.
Yeah. So my daughter and you know, Amanda and her
Talk about
boyfriend Austin.
divided house, right?
They are both Brawley teachers, and yeah, and to go just as a side note, which is the funny part, is that when I first got to Central, my first 3 years when I got here, we lost the bell to Brawley. And everybody was laughing about the fact that, hey, you've lost the bell, you lost the bell, lost the bell. Well, my daughter got a job at Brawley, and we sent her over to Brawley, and that year was the year we won the bell. So it was like the Lions jinx I sent it to Brawley.
It exists.
Yeah,
the kids down the river.
yeah,
Okay.
and so we ended up winning it 4 years in a row as my daughter was over there. Unfortunately, we came up short last year, but those are the things. That's the fun part. But I think that was the best. To me, having my grandson in my arms as the Padres did well, and we got to celebrate. I mean, our family really, you know, support the Padres and the local pitching coach Ruben Niebla. So
That's right.
that's
I always forget
those
about
are
that.
great things for us because as a community here, we support our own,
Yeah, of
and to
course.
see one of our,
For sure.
even though he was a Bulldog, you know, graduated from Calexico.
But the local guys.
Local guys.
You know, collects
We always-
Imperial Valley. You know.
Yeah. To see that, to see him celebrating,
That's awesome.
is important for our valley and our athletic.
You're talking about a guy who consistently put up the IBBN baseball camps, and even do local pitching camps, local talent. And one of them's, you know, he's from us, right? He's at San Jose State, and Ruben's the guy that helped develop him. And now, you know, sometimes I'm watching the game, and I'm so into just all these years of pain and being a Padre. Like we never invest. So now we're finally putting some money. I guess we're getting some market share. I don't know what's going on, but hey, we're spending. And I'm getting so caught up in the game, all of a sudden, like, yeah, Ruben's the pitching coach every freaking time, like every single game. So
would that be the best thing you saw?
man, you know it's the best thing. Damn, well, it's the best thing I've seen. Well, you know how much it hurts. By the way, something else painful that happened. Bruce Bochy got hired by.
The Rangers today.
Yeah, so I was heartbroken when he left the Padres organization because he was our guy in '98, and you know, we parted ways, and magically went to San Francisco and won 3 World Series in 5 years. So that pained me seeing San Francisco win every single year. So like that's our boy, right? So finally we're making a run. You got to have faith. I have no faith. Faith has been broken down year after year. I mean, I hate having hope, and I tell you guys that all the time. I hate having hope, and this is the painful part about this year. The best thing and the worst thing that's happened to me all week is having hope. Hope, absolutely.
It's about luck too. You know, you gotta hope for a little luck, and
They're hot right now,
that's-
so
yeah.
it's the hottest teams.
It's finding that groove at the right time. I mean, I'm an Angel fan, and I had 1 year of winning it all, and it was the same thing because when you look at it, you mentioned the Giants. The Angels played those Giants, and the Giants were that powerhouse team.
I was rooting so
big
hard
bats,
for the Angels.
you know?
With the kid from Brawley.
Yeah, and then you go and you take that, and it streaks. We know that about a lot of it is that, you know, who's hitting their stride, and right now the Padres are hitting their stride at the end. You just, knock on wood for those that root for them, that they can continue to play well.
The Astros are also hitting their strides.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
Astros.
know. All I'm gonna, and I went on record last time before they played Dodgers Padres. Said I hope the Padres win, so that way we have a closer home game before all that happened. But I will say that as a Dodger fan, Yankees and the Giants are the two teams I cannot ever root for, and I can't root for the Astros. So I'm National League this year. I'm hoping the Padres can pull it off, and I'm hoping that if that happens, you guys will be wearing a championship shirt.
Well, Nick will, and maybe my son Brock. I will. I mean, I'm a Padre guy, but I'm an Angels first, and I do root for the Padres.
So you don't have 4 different favorite teams?
I don't have 4. Well, actually, I have, as the story goes, I have 29. I root for the Angels first, and then anybody that plays the Dodgers. But very low on that list is the Astros.
All right.
Yeah, that's the funny part.
I don't know. I know I'm biased, but I feel like most baseball fans, knowing that they cheated that year, there's some kind of, at least a little bit of.
And it is tough though. It is tough because really,
none of them got punished.
But even now it's hard because you're still holding up, and there might be only like 4 or 5 guys I think.
Bregman,
But they're the big names, and that's why
until they're gone.
And that's the thing, because everybody else in the Astros organization didn't have really anything to do with it because they weren't with the team, and now it's kind of like, all right. So, but
we'll see what happens. Baseball's a beautiful thing.
It is. It is.
Well, Craig, thanks for being here.
Oh man, I appreciate it.
First
I love
official
working.
guest.
Yeah,
And
maybe one time, when you guys stop the podcast, I'll be your last guest.
Hey,
maybe,
who knows? Hey, we're just going show by show.
Yeah, I love this. I'm glad to see you guys out here doing things like this, and especially about rivalries in the bell game and some of the things like that.
Good time.
Yeah, by the way, in case you guys haven't figured out, we are broadcasting from the STEM building at Central Brawley High School. There's a Cal Jones field in the background, and I think we mentioned that earlier, but what you just heard is a bell from the school. So.
Look at that. The bell going off, talking about the bell game. So, what a better way to finish it off. So, all right.
Episode 9.
Thanks for
information to get tickets in the game will be in the description, so
check it out.
If you haven't seen one before, bucket list stuff.
And one thing too, those of you that are out of California and you want to watch the game, go to VSN, Visual Sports Network on YouTube, and the game is going to be broadcast live from Brawley, so don't forget VSN
Friday night.
Valley Sports Network YouTube page. They'll get you all set up. You can watch it next Friday night.
All right.
It'll also be in the description. So
Check it out. All right. See you guys
Thanks
next
a lot.
time. Take care.
Yeah.